Imam al-Layth was a greater jurisprudent, and nobody knows about him today. And the one who was lesser, everybody knows about. Imam Malik, Malikis. Followers are in Sudan, in North Africa, in Morocco, in Tunisia. Malikis. In the Emirates, Malikis. Abu Dhabi, Dubai, they're Malikis. Everybody knows about the Malikis today. But nobody knows about Al-Layth ibn Sa'd. What happened to the Laythi madhab? What happened to it? Is it lost? No, it's not lost. Imam Shafi'i said Al-Layth was a greater jurisprudent than Malik. However, his students caused his madhab to be lost. They were weak. He had weak students. So they were not able to continue to present his ideas and his views in discussions with others who were students of the other scholars. So what happened is Imam al-Shafi'i, he absorbed them. They were not lost. He absorbed them. And they became the foundation, part of the foundation of his quote-unquote madhab, his rulings. He stayed in Egypt, became the Imam of Egypt. Now, there's a lesson to learn from this. And of course you know that Ahmed ibn Hanbal, of the so-called Hanbali madhab, he studied under who? Under Imam al-Shafi'i. He was Imam al-Shafi'i's student. But the lesson to be learned from Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i is that wherever he studied and he gained new information, he applied it. He corrected whatever information he had previously. He changed his rulings, no problem. This is an important point, because people will say, listen, you must follow one madhab. If you don't follow one of these four madhabs that we know about, then your imam is shaitan. You're following Satan's madhab. And they will call you Ahli Hadith, Najat, Wahhabi, whatever. They find a whole bunch of names for you. All of it means basically heretic, deviant. The point is, they say you must follow one madhab. Because if you go to another madhab and you change your opinion, then you go to another madhab and you change your opinion. What is this? No stability. You need to follow just one thing. But what about Imam al-Shafi'i? What do we say about him? He was unstable? Is anybody ready to say Imam Shafi'i was unstable? Well, some people say, you know, I live in the Emirates, so the people come from your area here, whatever, and they attend classes, and certain things are brought out to them, and they say, well, back home, the scholars told us that you're supposed to do it this way, and now you're telling us to do it that way. Now, if we agree and do it your way, and we go back home and they tell us, no, that way is not correct because this, that, and the other, and we have to go back to the other way. And then when we come back to you again, you tell us, no, that's what he said is not really correct because of this, that, and the other, and really you need to do it this way. Confusion. Changing our opinions. But, is that bad? Is it bad to change your opinion? Surely not with the example of Imam Shafi'i. It can't possibly be bad. Again, sometimes people come and they study under a scholar or study under somebody who has some knowledge. And some years later or months later, whatever, they ask the same question or somebody else asks the same question that they asked earlier, and the scholar or the student of knowledge gives a different answer. They say, it changed his mind. He said one thing last year, this year he's saying something else. What kind of scholar is this? What kind of knowledge could he possibly have? He can't stick to an opinion. He can't have the right opinion on everything. This is people's attitude, that a scholar is not allowed to change his opinion. A person who has some knowledge, who is teaching, must stick to one opinion. They must be right in everything. But hey, was that the way of the early generation? Was that Imam al-Shafi'i? He had only one opinion? Or did he change his opinion as knowledge came to him? This is a very important point to understand. Because people will try to make this idea that you must follow one madhab, using the kind of logic, but if you don't know the history, then you can be fooled. Because it may seem to make sense. Better to be stable, you have one way, you know what you're doing, you don't have to worry about all these other opinions, just stick on this and life is simple. But in fact, that's not the way. That was not the way of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nor that of the tabi'un or the tabi'ut-tabi'een. The great imams, this was not their way. Their students, it was not their way. The students of Abu Hanifa, among them Muhammad ibn al-Shaybani that I mentioned earlier, he studied under Imam Malik and memorized the Muwatta of Imam Malik also. He is one of the narrators, the chief narrators of Al-Muwatta. Furthermore, he and Abu Yusuf and Zufar, they changed more than 50% of the rulings of Abu Hanifa. They disagreed with him and corrected those rulings as they taught them. So what people today call the Hanafi madhab, these are not the rulings of Abu Hanifa. Some of them are, but many of them are not. Many of them are not. So, that early generation followed the madhab of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And their students maintained that madhab. But as time passed, as the state of the Abbasid dynasty began to crumble, corruption spread amongst them, and you found among the leaders, the caliphs, in the latter era of the degeneration, you found the caliphs having developed certain practices which were abhorrent. Among them, the caliph with his entourage, his relatives, his friends, etc., people who he had elevated, wazirs and etc., they would sit together and they would have different means of entertainment. As today people have video games, you have movies, you have comedians, you have wrestling, you have a variety of different things to entertain you. Much of it is haram. In those days, those caliphs began to entertain themselves with a number of haram things. Among them, they had what came to be known as the court astrologer. They would have somebody who was knowledgeable in astrology, who used to tell them, your sign indicates that you should not do this, or you should do that, or telling them the future based on their study of the positions of the stars with images imposed over them. Libra, Pisces, Taurus, etc. Falsehood, about which the Prophet ﷺ said it is shirk. But they had this mushrik astrologer sitting amongst them, entertaining them. And they also had singing girls, women. As we have music groups today, Madonna and these others, they had in their time. So they would enjoy, certain singing groups would come and they would sing, and the caliph and his entourage were entertained. Of course, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had talked about one of the signs of the last day would be when Muslims would adopt